Hello, welcome to The View at Vauxhall Road, your new exclusive channel for everything Hemel Hempstead. Over the course of the new season, we'll be bringing you exclusive interviews, pre and post match analysis and reaction, as well as exclusive player interviews across the season. Now today we've got a very special guest in the studio. Mark Jones has joined us. So Mark, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you. Very professional setup, Dan. Yeah, excellent.
It's nice facilities.
In our new media suite.
Well, the season is very much upon us, and we wanted to sit down and have a chat, talk about sort of the back end of last season and then coming into this one with the signings and things like that. And I'm sure every non-league manager up and down the country's phone rings non-stop. You know, you're dealing with incomings and outgoings, but let's just cover off some of those outgoings. You obviously got a chance to look at the squad towards the end of the season where there wasn't a great deal to play for. So looking at some of those outgoings, what were your thoughts on some of those?
Yeah, obviously, you know, I inherited quite a large percentage of the group last year, and those boys did fantastic for me. You know, first and foremost, I'd like to say that you know, we worked ever so hard as a group, and we got ourselves out of a situation that was looking quite poor at the start of the season. So that's pretty well documented. Everybody knows that. So we do need to look forward now. But there were lots of positives in our performances last year, and you know, we unfortunately didn't finish the season in the way I would have liked. I think we the last 5-6 games was quite disappointing in terms of our points return. But you know, I didn't think we were sort of quite ready for those playoffs. Really, you know, I mean, when you look at where we started from, you know, the aim when I came in was very much to sort of stabilise things, and you know, I had to obviously bring some players in and we changed things around. So there was quite a lot of change, and it's you know, it's not always ideal to sort of come in at the sort of time frame that I did. Yeah. But you know, there were lots of positives. I think we went on a very good away run where I think won 6 away games on the spin. We got that monkey off our back where we finally won a game at home after incredible length of time, and then it sort of flipped really. Our home form sort of started to improve later on in the season it got, and then our away form completely nosedived off. So look, you know, we were a little bit inconsistent throughout the season really. So I just felt that to try and improve us moving forward, which is obviously the aim of any football team, to keep progressing and keep moving forward, I felt that we needed to change the dynamic of the squad a little bit. Not saying that the players we had in were bad players, but I just sort of felt that if we wanted to kick on, we would need to be quite ruthless in our decision making and how we were shaping the squad. So, you know, we did do that. Then the next challenge is to try and obviously bring players in. You know, in some respects it's reasonably easy to let people go, although you always try to do that in as respectful sort of way as you can, but bringing better in, you know, is always the challenge, and that's a challenge we gave ourselves. And it hasn't been an easy summer, you know, I'll be honest. It's some of it has been a little bit frustrating at times. I think I've listened to a few managers and everybody seems to be saying similar, that you know, the demands that some players are asking for sort of part-time football at this level, I think is quite unrealistic sort of financially. And you know, you have all of those sort of things early on in the summer where players are trying to get a good deal for themselves, and there's an awful lot of conversation that happens and to-ing and fro-ing, and unfortunately sometimes it doesn't really lead to anything. So an awful lot of time is spent as a manager talking and having conversations, and you know, some of our early targets we weren't able to get. Some of the players that we would have liked to have kept from last year, unfortunately we weren't able to for one reason or another. Obviously the likes of Gus Scott-Morris has moved on to a higher level. We would have liked to have kept Joash Nemhard. He decided to move to Havant and Waterlooville. I think they offered him a good deal there. And Sam Mantum, we would have liked to have kept Sam as well, but you know, we had an honest conversation with each other, and he sort of moved to just north of Birmingham, I think, and we both felt that the distance that he would be travelling, you know, it just wasn't conducive to him producing his best performances. So, you know, 3 players there I've mentioned that we would have liked to have kept that we couldn't, and then it was a case of just trying to work through our list, you know, go through several sort of targets and try and get some players in, but we're happy with what we've done so far.
And just a week to go before the season starts, Is that when maybe some of those targets that you had your eye on for a few weeks might start suddenly knocking on the door once the season starts?
Yeah, I think there's always a difficult sort of game to play is the right phrase. But, yes, you do know that players will become available. But as a manager and a coach, you also want to get some fundamentals into the group through training sessions and pre-season friendlies. I don't think you can sort of, bring 5 or 6 players in right at the last minute and then sort of throw them straight into the sort of league game. So, you do hear people saying things like, well, players will come available right at the end. But, sometimes that can be a bit of a dangerous game to play as well, you'd have to have a pretty cool head to be sort of a week to go to the season and half your squad isn't here yet. So we try to sort of get some in early, and we've had to be more patient on others. I've tried to sign players that have got experience at the top end of this league or sort of played in higher levels, and mixed in with that there's sort of 2 or 3 lads that are young, hungry and want to improve ourselves. So the balance of the squad is looking okay. I think it's been a mixed bag of pre-season so far. We've had some positive performances and periods in games where we've looked quite good, and then equally we've had some times where we're looking at it thinking, we've got quite a bit to do here. So, but that's what pre-season's for. It's a sort of information gathering exercise for myself really, and looking at things and thinking, well, I like that, or I don't like the look of that, and we have to then work and try to change things and improve. And that's where we are. That's what pre-season's about. You're looking for performance levels, and we've done some things good and some things not very good. So that's where we are.
And pre-season, as you refer to, there is not necessarily a results game. The performances in the results in the last 2 pre-season games, does that change your thinking ever so slightly?
I don't think we've been great in either of those games. I think if we quickly run through pre-season just to give everybody a bit of an oversight, I thought the first game against Barnet we showed some encouraging signs. It was obviously our first game. I think Barnet had already played a couple of games and obviously a full-time side. I thought first for half 45 minutes we showed up pretty well. Like everybody does, we made wholesale changes at half time, and it was a completely different team second half. And I thought there were some positive signs in that game. We then went to Berkhamsted, I think, our second game, and after a very sloppy 25 minutes, we managed to get on top, and there were some positive signs again. We think we won that game 5-0. The next game was at home to Morpeth, where we went 2-0 up inside about 10 minutes and, started the game brilliantly. And then again, lost our way a little bit when we made lots of changes and ended up losing that game 3-2. So that was a sort of topsy-turvy one. We then went to Bedford and probably produced our best performance of pre-season, winning that game 6-0, and showed some, really encouraging signs with our play and our movements and our patterns, which was good.
In difficult conditions, the rain.
Yeah, well, it was lovely for the boys to play in rain because we've had a very dry summer, haven't we? It certainly wasn't pre-season conditions that night. It was raining heavily from minute 1 to the end, which we seemed to like. Yeah. But that was a great performance from us and an encouraging evening. And then we went to Bromsgrove last Saturday. We used that weekend as a bit of a team bonding exercise for the boys. We stayed in Birmingham after the game, and because we've got a lot of new lads in the team this year. That we done okay in that game. It was a difficult game. Credit to Bromsgrove, they played very well, and we lost that game 1-0. Probably a draw would have been about right result-wise, but we struggled a little bit with our quality on the ball on that occasion. And then Tuesday was our latest pre-season friendly against Chesham, where I thought we were a million miles off of it performance-wise. And we spoke to the players after that game because although it's only pre-season, that type of level of performance isn't acceptable at any time. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag so far. But we purposely sort of chose games that we felt would be a challenge in terms of playing non-league teams. I mean, on some occasions, you know, you get your games against, you know, your under 23s teams, or, you know, professional under 18 comes down, they bring scholars down, and the game can become a little bit false. And, you know, so we wanted to sort of play against teams that we knew would give us a physical test. And the last two teams we've played against, step 3 teams, Bromsgrove and Chesham, and you know, that has been the case. But like I say, you know, pre-season is for us to iron out problems, to look at things, to try to sort of get the right combinations going, and we haven't done that yet. But we've got one pre-season game to go against Brackley on Saturday, which will be extremely tough test, because Brackley are consistently been right at the top of the National League North now for maybe 5 or 6 seasons. I mean, you know, they've probably been a little bit unlucky on a couple of occasions not to actually get promoted into the National League, but a very, very consistent, good team at National League North. So that'll be a good test for us Saturday. But, you know, it's an old cliche, but, you know, how much do you read into pre-season? Some managers will say, you know, you can read quite a bit into it. Others say it has no bearing at all once the season starts. You'd like to think that, you know, come a league game, the players have that little bit of extra edge to them, and when there's 3 points to play for, you know, but that's the most important thing. So, you know, pre-season, you know, it is what it is. It's an important exercise in certain elements, but then on other things, you know, how much importance do you place upon it? You know, it's I don't think anyone's quite worked that out yet.
Well, the season is you know, a week away. You've been around this level for a long time now. I'm going to put you on the spot and say sort of what's your aspirations for the season? I know there'll probably be at least half the division that have a chance to get into the playoffs and beyond.
I think you have to look at the playoff positions, with seventh place getting you into the playoff as an aim that you have to go for. I mean, but like as you said, I should think that's, you know, a lot of teams will be looking at that. I think you're looking for improvement year on year. I think, you know, last season was, I wouldn't say it was a sort of like a gimme season where it didn't matter, but there was no real expectation placed upon us in terms of, right, you know, we must finish in, you know, in these positions, or this is the aim. The aim simply was, right, you know, let's make sure we sort of stay in the division, really. And I know we got quite close to those playoffs at times, and then that raises expectations, and people sort of think, oh, maybe we should have got in the playoffs. But, you know, with a poor start, a new team coming in, lots of changes, you know, that wasn't, I don't think, a realistic expectation. But we, you know, there's more expectation on us this season, you know, and that's something that we want, because we want to be successful. But yeah, I mean, I think people will be looking at us this year, looking for us to make a good start, and, you know, finding ourselves in the top half of that table. But listen, football, no, it's not easy. Nobody's going to give you anything. You know, everything we get, we're going to have to earn. It's such a fine line between success and failure in this game. It really is. I mean, you know, you have some games where you come off, you know, winning the game. You could have quite easily lost it. You know, you win the game and everyone thinks you're all fantastic. You know, equally there's games where you lose it by a sort of, you know, not much of a distance, and all of a sudden we're the world's worst team and the world's worst manager. So we know it's results driven. You know, that's always been the same. You've got to get results because we are a first team. You know, and people come on a Saturday and want to see us win, and we want to see us, you know, getting as high up in that table as we can. And I accept that, and I know that's the job. And, you know, we hope that we're going to be ready come Farnborough on the 6th of August.
So as you say, Farnborough on the 6th of August, here in front of our own fans. How good is it to have the opening game of the season at home? But the challenge is, it's one of the new teams that have come up, and, you know, they'll be wanting to fight and to get those 3 points as well.
Yeah, I mean, we are pleased we're at home. You know, it's good to be home first game of the season, but as you quite rightly said, Farnborough will come here, and you know, they're a good side. They've got some capable players. They've got some good experienced players coming off the back of a promotion. They'll be confident. You know, so we're expecting a tough game, but they're all tough games. You know, there's some good teams in this league. You know, there's been a little bit, a couple of changes with different managers going in, and you know, every week will be a tough game for us. We've got to concentrate on our own performance, what we're trying to do. Of course, we always give every respect to every team we play, and we try and do our research and our due diligence. But you have got to get your own performance levels right, and that's something we'll be focusing on. You know, we've got 3 training sessions and 1 more pre-season game before that first league fixture, so chance for us to work on things. And after our performance at Chesham last Tuesday, we've certainly got a lot to work on. We have got some issues with our sort of availability in the first sort of 2 to 3 weeks of the season. I think it's worth mentioning that we will have no Don Morgan Griffiths or no Kyler Jay for until sort of middle of September. Both are serving bans left over from last season, which is a big learning curve for them and a disappointment for us. We knew about Dom's one, you know, a while ago, and we were expecting a ban there, but Kyler Jay's one has sort of come a little bit out of the blue for us, really, and which is very disappointing. There was an incident when he was playing for Kings Langley that he was accused of. There's very little evidence, very little tangible evidence, and unfortunately the FA have found him guilty and banned him for 8 games, which is a really, you know, a huge blow for us. But this is why you have to put a good squad together. You know, the better teams, the teams that will do well, will have a good squad. I felt last season at times when we did have 3 or 4 key players missing, excuse me, that told, you know, and this year we've got to have a strong enough sort of, you know, squad that when people aren't available, because you are going to get injuries, you're going to get suspensions throughout the season. So, you know, yes, we want to start the season well, of course we do. You know, we're putting a lot of emphasis on a good start, but you know, as I say, we've got to be in a position that when we do get key players back, that, you know, we can kick on from there. Junaid Mead, who is, I think, is a good signing for us from Dartford. Unfortunately, we'll probably miss the first 2 to 3 games with a groin injury. Craig Fassin-Maid is unfortunately unavailable because of sort of family commitments that he's got. So yeah, it's not perfect for us right from the start, but when is it perfect? You know, it's you've got to have a good enough squad, and I think, you know, you look at the teams that went up in Maidstone and Dorking, you know, they would have a lot of strength in depth, you know, to call upon when they need, and that's what we're trying to get to.
Well, we wish you the very best of luck come next week, and shortly joining us will be Charlee Hughes. But August is a bumper month for fixtures, so let's take a look at those first 6 fixtures of the season. There are then, there's the first 6 fixtures of the new season in August, and joining me is Charlie. So Charlie, thanks very much for coming in. I know you've had a bit of a journey to...
No worries, yeah. A little bit of traffic on the way in today, but it's all part of it.
So, new season is just about a week away, and you joined the club halfway, sort of, was it halfway through last season?
Yeah, just after Christmas last season, so...
And hit the ground running then. What was it about that time that sort of made you to make the decision to stay on for this season?
You know, sort of when you come in and you get a feel of the place, and as you say, sort of hit the ground running with the team and the squad and the management and just the ground in general, the fans, everyone sort of here helps with that. It's not just sort of a string of games that I managed to put together. Sort of the hitting the ground running is all part of it. So going into this season, it was definitely somewhere where I can see myself going again with all those different things, the fans behind the lads and things like that, Mark, the manager, the backroom staff, everyone like that. So it all helps, and for me that was a big decider for me to keep the run going. So,
and there's been a few incomings, and there were obviously some outgoings left last season. Some big characters that did move on, and obviously to bigger things, I suppose you can say. Your age now, and the length of time that you've had playing at this sort of level, you're considered probably one of the more experienced players heading towards that direction. How do you, as players that are here now, that have been here last season, involve the new lads coming in and making sure that they settle quite quickly?
Yeah, I mean, we had the conversation in the changing room the other day. I mean, not that I'm getting old, but sort of we got a young group this year, and you know, it's good to have that mixture of sort of the young and the old. The young boys coming through with the older boys sort of not necessarily showing them the ropes, but sort of to be there to sort of help them through as well. But you know, just training together, playing games together, all that sort of thing, just in the dressing room, it really helps just pull us all together, really. And obviously, as I say, pulling the young ones through, really.
And personal targets for the season, I'm sure strikers, they have their own personal targets, and you might not want to necessarily share them today, but you know, sort of what do you look for at the start of the season?
Well, yeah, for me, obviously, personally, as a striker, any sort of goals is great, and I'll be aiming for obviously as many as I can. But really, ultimately, as a team, we want to be doing well this year. We want to be up in the top half of the table for the majority of the season. I know last year was sort of, we were pushing towards the end in that top half, but we want to be there and thereabouts and competing with those bigger sides the whole way through the season. So for our target as a group is obviously to be up there and winning games of football, but obviously for myself to make sure I'm in the squad week in, week out is a big one. And just to make sure that I'm performing well, you know, giving the fans what they want to see, winning games of football and scoring goals ultimately.
Well, thanks very much for your time. We'll make sure you can get out and go to training. Looks like it's about to start.
Yeah.